That's why I'm Katie blowing her like
Yo, my
Arizona
YouTube
blowing.
garden gang. Welcome back to Rello Mellow Garden. Another installment here. We are now on day 30 of flower. We're just about halfway through. These are probably going to flower 60 to 63 days in total. So we're doing pretty good. Usual process again. Flowering stage, not too difficult. The trellis net part can be a little bit of work, but after that, as long as you didn't over veg like me, it's pretty smooth sailing. But we're gonna go ahead and pH down this water. Regular tap water usually comes in around a 7.3 or something like that on the pH pin. 2 of these little droppers worth of this more bloom gets it down to the 6 we need when we've got 2 gallons of water like we do now. Here y'all can see how much it gets filled up. And again, 2 worth of these into this 2 gallons worth of water gets our pH in range, and I should say it's around 6.3, 6.5 instead of a 6. That'd be a little low for my preferences. Go ahead and integrate that in, stir it in. We've got these 2 little aquarium air pumps here. They help add oxygen into the water when we've got them in there, and they help bubble out chlorine and maybe a couple other things we might not want too much of for our soil, especially since we were doing an organic grow. We have transitioned to this more bloom, which is not organic. There that is. Now we're gonna go crack the tin open. It is a pleasant little funk coming out of here. A good stank. Something that I'm sure we gonna like. Hit these fans real quick. There we go. A little easier on the audio. As y'all know, we've got our NF Sheesh crossed with Oreos. We came to the conclusion last episode, or last whatever. And our Ice Cold on this side crossed with Oreos as well. Both did us mighty fine. 2 little bag seeds. Humidity, we were having it decent. That 55 is cool. 65 at this point is too high. 75 is way too high. Again, I'm gonna just have to stay on top of. Temperatures are looking nice. 88's a bit high, but 70's is pretty good. But I'm gonna have to stay on top of making sure I empty this right now. It's full. So, of course, I'll probably let the humidity shoot up at night. Definitely once the buds really start really coming in, week 6, we're gonna have to make sure we stay on top of that. See some little funny looking stuff here. Not sure exactly what that is. Maybe it's related to that humidity getting up, but I only see it on those 2 leaves. Well, maybe I see it on the 3rd one down here. Nope. We'll monitor that. Won't be doing too much today in the tent. Just sort of observing what we got going on. Making sure everything looks well enough. You can see the light little bleaching on the tips of these leaves, but that's just due to the light intensity. I might have called it wrong on this. We're still gonna have to wait as it continues to develop, but I might have called it wrong, or maybe I just misremember how it developed last time I ran one of these Ice Cold Oreos little bag seeds. But right now, it's got a real intense kind of tropical fruity scent coming from it, whereas this NF Sheesh crossed with Oreos has sort of transitioned to a more funky type scent. And it looked like it got some purple on them leaves coming in. We'll see what it do with that. That could be damage related, maybe. Not sure. But as y'all know, 48 ounces from the top and 8 to 16 ounces on the bottom. Watering every day, of course. Root zone is definitely packed out in these. All right, just finished watering these in, and I do think I'm seeing some fungus gnats in here, which it's the moist soil that's attracting them. I don't think they're gonna super populate or do much damage to the plants in this stage. They're healthy enough. That root zone is definitely pretty well established. But since I had seen a couple of them flying around, I think after today we're gonna hold off on watering them from the top and let the top of this soil dry out. They usually only live a few inches deep in the soil, I think. And we'll just do bottom watering for a few days and see if I still see them. Again, it's not many. It's not like we can see them all over the place or anything. I've just seen a couple. So something to note there. If you can, just do bottom watering. Try to let the top dry out for a few days. Maybe that'll get rid of them. If not, there's other methods. I think like mosquito dunks and diatomaceous earth, which I still have some diatomaceous earth, but I did not have good experiences when I used it. Probably my own error, or I'm sure it is, but nah. Other than that, not really much going on today. Again, about halfway through flower. I say things are looking pretty right on track from what I'd be expecting out of these plants. Really don't have any expectations with this one, because this NF again, crossed with Oreos, I've never grown before. But again, one of these bag seeds of this ice cold cross I have, so things look pretty in line. This one is really starting to frost up some more. It's a little slow on it. But yeah, I think that's gonna really call it for day 30. Not too much going on. We'll be back probably day 32. Hello, my YouTube garden gang. Rello Mellow Garden. And we back down here another day. Really forgot to start recording when I initially came down here, but we here with it now. We got our water bucket here. We just got done watering in the 2x4. About to go look in there. As y'all know, we use regular tap water in this 2-gallon bucket. Fill it all the way up. Then we've got 2 little aquarium style air pumps here connected to, or these hoses here, or tubes come out of them, and they connect to these air cubes, which pump fresh air into the water, bubbles it, helps get rid of chlorine, plus it will dissolve oxygen into the water. I'd say these are probably good for any grower. It wouldn't hurt, but especially if you're using tap water, probably in the majority of places, these will be an essential couple tools for you to use. Get the chlorine and whatnot out of there. Now, I was wondering if I should announce it or just keep it to myself, but sometimes I like sharing stuff, sometimes I keep it to myself. Let's see, we still got all these seeds over here. I'm hoping by July I can get a 4x4 tin in. We find something that we gonna grow out in there. But anyways, moving on from our little watering station to our girls here. I am keeping this cracked often. This struggles to keep that heat in line without it. Highs at 88 ain't too bad. At least it's not in the 90s. 72s are cool. 84. I would really at this point of flower, we're in week 5. I would prefer the temps stay in the 70s, but like I said, it's just hard to kind of get them down, and lower 80s with the occasional higher 80s ain't gonna hurt too bad. But again, 70s would help preserve terpenes and whatnot, because The trichomes, which store most of the cannabinoids and all that type of stuff, I believe are a little volatile in high heat. And that's probably where a lot of really the scent that they give off during this grow comes from, I think. But it is what it is. It ain't gonna be the worst thing for certain. And things are looking pretty good in here, regardless. Shout out to everyone a little newer to the channel that's been subbing up. That subscriber count has been at a steadily rate, kind of just increasing. Pretty cool to see. Honestly, wasn't even sure if I'd get 100 people watching these videos, but we generally get well above that. I know my first 11-12 months uploading, I could usually probably average 30 or 40 views a video, so it's pretty cool. And we still got a long way in our journey anyways. Let's go ahead and hop on in here. I guess I'm gonna start over here with the NF Sheesh crossed with Oreos, just because it's got a little bit of interesting stuff happening. We can see some purple coming in on these leaves. I don't really see any signs of us having too much of purple buds just yet, but it could come in later in expression. A little bit of damage on a leaf right there that I'm gonna assume has something to do with light. Not 100% certain though. And y'all can see how that trichome production is coming in on her. It especially looks good on the buds and kind of up in there. Yeah. Everything looking fairly well. See some more purple coming in on this leaf over here on the NF Sheesh crossed with Oreos. And I think I fairly like how these buds are stacking so far. Looks like we'll have some decent little top nugs. I am interested to see exactly how this cross and this phenotype of it, how the bud structure and all that will look in the end. Again, day 33, so we're in week 5 of flower. I imagine probably, if not by the middle of week 6, around the start of week 7, we'll see kind of how the buds are really going to look. And around that point, they might have a little bit of bulking to do, but it'll mainly be waiting for the trichomes to mature, which I'll talk more about that when we get closer to that point. Right, we can pan on over here to the right, and there that ice cold cross with the Oreos is. She might stack even a little better. Looks like we're gonna have some long ass nice top buds all over. Again, there's plenty of signs of purple in her buds. I think towards week 7-ish of flowers, some of the leaves might start to get some colors on them, make it a little prettier to look at. But I don't really care about color. I don't even really care too much about purple in my nugs, to be honest. Care more about potency, flavors, quality of smoke. But on the leaves, them ain't gonna stay with the nugs anyway, so every once in a while, it's definitely nice to see some purple on the buds though, which we'll have out of here. Good bag appeal if I ever really want to scale this up and try to enter the market. All right, get y'all a little closer up angle on this ice cold cross with the Oreos. Some of the buds got more hints of purple in them than others. It seems to especially be more dominant in some of the lower sites. Let's see if we can get back on this one. This one you can really see it in there. Ooh, it's smelling good in here as well. That's our work, folks. But we're going to temporarily depart from the tent and come over here and look at this little more bloom. As y'all know, we fed them with this on day 22. We come back here, indoor plants that bloom. 1 teaspoon per quart of water every 10 to 14 days. Today being day 33, that would make it 11 days. And I think I'm going to wait until day 35 maybe to go ahead and feed them again. Then we could feed them again another time between day 45 and 49. And after that, they probably won't get any more feedings. We're going to do a slight flush on them, leak all the nutrients out the bottoms of the pots. And soon after that, it'll be time for harvest. And if you didn't know, really by week 3, you don't need to be adding much more nitrogen into your soil. But definitely by this point in flower, nitrogen is like almost a non-factor. The nitrogen they do need, you see these nice green leaves? They are this color due to plant chemistry and the nitrogen that is actually stored in the leaves. Plants store nutrients in leaves. That way if the soil does become depleted for whatever reason, well, they've got reserves in the leaves. So this is where pretty much any nitrogen that they're using, there's probably some left in the soil, but for the most part, you're just gonna let them use what they got reserved. Don't need to add any nitrogen in here. Unless you were to see some type of crazy deficiency, which we're not. There's slight yellowing of leaves in places, but plenty of nice and green. And they're naturally going to yellow the later and later they get into flower anyways, as they enter the end of their life cycle. But I think that's all we got here for day 33. We're going to go ahead and check out. Yo, what's up, my YouTube garden gang? Relo Mello here. Or no, I just filled this water up. But we do got our water here filled up in the bucket. I'm going to let this bubble a little bit. If you don't know, I use regular tap water. It generally comes in around a fairly balanced pH of a 7. So it does require either a little pH down or something acidic. I've been utilizing this More Bloom just because I got this big bottle of it and it's super acidic and it kind of works just like pH down. It doesn't need very much to get the water in line. And of course with tap water, it really wouldn't hurt to do it with any form of water that you use to water your plants, but especially tap water, I assume in most places, at least in the US where I'm at. Got these 2 aquarium air pumps with these hoses that attach to air cubes here. They pump fresh air into this bucket, which helps bubble out chlorine and dissolves oxygen in there, which the root zone likes. And we's back. Day 35 now. That gives us 5 full weeks of flower. Heading on into the 6th week here. About to go ahead and hit this bucket of water here with some pH down, or I guess More Bloom, but it's acting as the pH down. So you can see. And we'll give them one more, or give it one more. Spilled some there, but it didn't go in the bucket. And boom. Just like that. And here we are. Here these girls are. 5 weeks of flowering. Should really start to come together here at the end of this 6th week. Not too much going on today. At this point of the grow, it's really entering like the cruise control state. And honestly, when I just thought about the fact that I was supposed to give them an actual feeding today, and we just pH down the water. I shouldn't have did that, because when I put a regular amount of more bloom in there, it's going to really shoot it down. But we're gonna go ahead and do the feeding. And in fact, I think I might actually use this baking soda again, because again, it takes a lot of pH up to get this more bloom, or once the more bloom is in the water, to get the acidity to get back to where we want it. And we do got this bottle here, but as y'all can see, it's really low, because when I did use that more bloom last run, it takes good chunks of it. So grab this. I'm just gonna fill up this tablespoon. And we'll take it on over to the bucket. Now I did hear you should wait to when using this baking soda, you should wait like a day of it sitting in the water. But again, I kind of forgot to be prepared that I was going to feed today, and I want to stick to that feeding schedule that I have set up, so I'm just going to go for it. Alright, y'all, currently these are sitting in a 7s. See if we can get it to pick up. 7.53 and say 7.4, and that one's still kind of messing around. And I sort of average it out between these two pins. It might not be exactly in range. Whenever I get a new sort of more, maybe a new pin, probably gonna get a little slightly more expensive one. Maybe that'll show us slightly different results. But again, I think I've mentioned, if your pH was way out of whack, you would be able to tell fairly quickly. It can cause certain nutrients to not be uptaken at the rate they need. It could cause nutrient lockout, which we don't seem to have much signs of anything like that. Most of our problems in the tent are again coming because I let the plants get too close to the light. So I'm fairly okay with just averaging my pH out between these two pins, because I doubt we would have even filled the tent out, because that's how I've been doing it this whole grow. If the pH was way out of whack, it really messes things up. Now, with this more bloom, you always want to give it a really good shake if you do decide to use some of this. It's a good little cheaper thing, especially if you're in a pinch for some bloom nutrients. I've tried more expensive side of things, trying cheaper sides of things. That way I can sort of be well versed and give a review in anything. But it says indoor plants, we want to mix in a teaspoon per quart of water. This is about 2 gallons, so that would be 8 quarts. So I guess 8 teaspoons of this. I'm just gonna throw in 2 tablespoons. We did already drop those 2 little droppers of whatever worth of the more bloom in there. So I'm gonna go with 2 tablespoons to add in, and we'll see what it does to this pH with a tablespoon of what's it called, the baking soda in there. All right, and it looks like we're actually gonna land pretty much right around the range we want it to be in. Again, that was a tablespoon of baking soda and 2 1/4 tablespoons of the more bloom. However much, I don't know how much this little dropper over here does. It's probably in the milliliters, I would imagine. But we put 2 of these in there as well. So again, I forgot I was gonna feed. So this was just a pH down amount. But yeah, it looks, they still got a little bit of stabilizing to do, it looks like. But yeah, it's about in range. We're looking at the ice cold crossed with Oreos right here. Still a lot of bud to develop in there. Decent amount of frost showing on her. Again, nice little subtle hints of purple in there. Look at that one there. Should be a pretty bud when it's all said and done. Slide on over. NF Sheesh crossed with Oreos. It's looking real good in there. Nice amounts of trichome production, especially on them little buds you see in there. This one I really like. These both have an incredibly kind of sweet scent to them right now. This NF Sheesh crossed with Oreos, as it's continuing through flower, its terpene profile is kind of evolving. It smells fairly different than it did the first couple weeks, or around week 3, 4. And that was just last week, week 4. Still hints of how it smelled, but it's definitely evolving. We'll see though what it smells like, the final product. It's got a sweet type scent to it, a little funk coming out of it, but I can't exactly nail what I would describe it as. Whereas over here with the ice cold times, or crossed with Oreos, it's sweet, but it's kind of got like a tropical type scent to it. Maybe like, I don't know, fruit roll-up or something. Mixed bowl of fruit. Now it looks like this pH stabilized a little lower, 6.3. I was aiming for a 6.5, but that's nothing major there. We'll have to go ahead and get those girls watered. They'll get probably one more feeding on day 49. And then after that, we're not feeding them anything else. It'll be regular watering, kind of flushing the plants until we harvest. And like the last 3 days, I don't want to water them at all. Get a little head start on letting the plants dry out. But I don't know, what is it, 48 ounces of water would come in from the top. And then we do another 16 from the bottom. And that's that. I think for the most part, that's gonna go ahead and, or I guess I will mention, I think I was kind of touching on it before, but I don't think I was using maybe the right terminology. But these fabric pots, since the way they're designed, right, water can seep through them, so air can seep through. When the roots make it to the edges of these pots, they kind of do something called air pruning when they get kind of exposed to air. Or otherwise we would probably see a bunch of roots wrapping around the outside of these or poking through. And I think that makes the plant force out a lot of feeder roots within the interior of it. So it could be kind of beneficial, I think, in a way. It doesn't make for as pretty of a picture for a root ball that a plastic pot would, but I think all the feeder roots that it forces out, because it constantly prunes its outer roots, does do good for your plant. Other than that, that's all we got going here for day 35, ending week 5 of flower. And as y'all know, if you found this video helpful or entertainment at all, do leave us a like. It's greatly appreciated. If you made it this far in the video, it's also appreciated. Watch time really helps out with the channel. Of course, shout out to everybody that's been rocking with me. If you want to see what we end up yielding out of this little 2x4, how the plants turn out. Do stay subscribed, or if you ain't subscribed, then do subscribe, hit the notifications. Of course, we've got our little girls over there, outdoor grow, plenty of more coming in on the channel. And yeah, another installment, Relo Melo Garden, and I'm out.